Hey, what's up guys? It's Brian here, Brian's Lawn Maintenance. Trust you guys are doing well. Today, we're doing another 5-minute or less FAQ style video to help you guys with bidding commercial work. I think you guys are gonna be really excited about this one. I got about a half dozen tips I wanna present to you guys to help you if you're just getting your business going or if you've been in business for a few years and you're trying to earn more commercial work. Let's jump inside, let's check it out.
Make the ground shake.
All right guys, so I'm up here at my commercial site. I was actually bidding some other sites around town. And one thing I was thinking about was helping you guys this time of the year. Right now I'm shooting this video in the spring, and that is to earn more commercial work. Obviously, a lot of us have residential clients, and it seems really simple and really straightforward to get more residential clients, right? But there still seems to be a little mystery out there with trying to earn commercial work. Now, here's the deal. I am not the guru. I am not the expert. We have 4 or 5 commercial sites now as our business is growing as well. But I've also been on the corporate America side running a small Little Caesar franchise. So I've received a lot of bids, a lot of estimates, a lot of quotes. I've also been a contractor that has submitted about a dozen, probably 10 or 12 actually, quotes over the years to different commercial sites, especially this spring. So it's really fresh and really relevant. Now, in no particular order, what I wanted to talk about was tip number 1, and that is you gotta find the decision maker, right? Whether it's a strip mall, what's an industrial drive machine shop or manufacturing company, whether it's a standalone Jimmy John's, what's a commercial retail site like the strip mall behind me. Somewhere along the way, there is a decision maker. Now, I will say this, at a local site like this, or at a Jimmy John's, maybe the manager, those folks are usually not the decision maker. Now, they could be, so don't discredit them, but you're always trying to find the corporate office, you're always trying to find the site manager, the maintenance manager, or somebody who's the decision maker, and usually somebody knows who that is. For example, if you approach that person with a bid or a conversation to get that whole dialogue going about potentially being the new contractor and property management company for that site, that's where you're gonna wanna start. I think a lot of folks, if you don't know sales or if you don't know how to get to the decision maker in life, you're gonna come up with a lot of roadblocks, and that's why I think commercial bidding can be very frustrating. At the end of the day, the very first thing you wanna do is make sure you get to the site manager, the decision maker, and start there. Now, tip number 2 that I can give you guys is that when you're submitting a bid for a commercial site, we want to know our numbers and we want to bid it appropriately and accurately. But one thing I want to just throw out there, and this is just a little personal tip, I'm just being real with you guys, is bid the site appropriately, but then bid it a little bit more of a +1. Throw some extra profit, some margin, bid it high. And why do I say that? Well, this is a personal example, this is real life. When you show up to a site, especially as an owner-operator like a lot of us are, when you show up to that site, you want to be interested and excited and fired up to cut the grass and take care of that site. And that's where bidding it appropriately comes into play. I feel all too often, especially in commercial work, the prices are just getting lower and lower, and a lot of folks are lowballing just to keep their guys moving or to just have a site for the name of having site, or having a site just for the name of having the snow, which I get, but at the same point, you don't want to be showing up to a site for 26 weeks straight after you lowballed it or got a poor price on it and not be excited for the next 26 weeks every time you pull up to that site. So bid it appropriately, but I'd always say plus 10%. You can do whatever you want to do, but for me personally, I didn't need that work before I showed up and I bid that commercial site. I'm probably not going to have my business drastically change overnight if I do earn the work. And guys, I'm just telling you what I do. I'm not the guru, I'm not the answer man, but this is what works for me. When I take on a new commercial site, if they don't like the price, not my problem. But I'll tell you what, if you have me take care of your site, you're gonna be very happy with the way the property looks, the reliability, the confidence that we bring into that site, and you're gonna be happy that my company is managing it. That's worth a premium, and that right there is probably my second biggest tip if you're gonna be bidding a property. Tip number 3, in no particular order. By the way, before we get into tip number 3, if you guys have some tips when bidding commercial work, leave me some comments down below. What do I know? I've only been bidding commercial sites for about 3 or 4 years. A lot of you guys have been doing this for 10 to 20 years. So if there's some tips that you guys have that I missed, leave them down below. By the way, don't forget to smash that like button. Super appreciate it. Tip number 3, if you don't earn the work, don't fret and don't sweat it. Little bit of tips and back end mindsets for you guys if you don't know this. When you're bidding commercial work, usually if a site is trying to renew the person they currently have, that property manager, the office manager, so on and so forth, especially for major corporations, are required to receive 2 to 3 to 4 bids for that property. Whether or not your bid is good or bad doesn't really make any difference to those folks. They are going to compare prices, but if they like the person they currently have, they're required to get 2 or 3 other independent votes or quotes or bids before they're able to renew, even if it's the person that they had last year. What am I trying to say? That means even if your prices make sense, even if your prices are 10% higher or 10% lower, it might not make any difference because you're the other, let's say in 3 different quotes that get presented, you might be one of the 2 guys that is just cross-referencing the first guy. So you might not even have a chance. It sounds like they're accepting quotes, but quite honestly, they couldn't care less. Cut your teeth with those kind of situations. It's no big deal if you don't get a call back or they don't accept your quote. Normally what happens is guys like us, we implode. We think it's our fault. Do we bid high? Do we bid low? Was the mulch too much? Well, instead of cutting it for $80 a week, I'll cut it for $30 a week, right? And we start justifying. We try to earn that business. Reality is that you weren't even in the game from the beginning. And I know it's a tough pill to swallow because I've realized that. Because when you spend 2 hours on a quote and you realize you don't earn it or you don't get a call back, you might have been the 2/3 that is just trying to compare prices to the first guy and they weren't even interested. So don't beat yourself up. Another thing I'd say while we're talking about pricing and if you don't get work is learn from it. If you don't earn work, just be real with people, man. Office managers, usually ladies, 30 to 55 years old, they're very helpful. They're kind of like moms, right? They will take care of you. Ask them, shoot them straight. Did we bid it high? Did we under bid it? Let me know, what was the budget like? And most of these folks will absolutely work with you. Here's one thing that I learned. I was bidding a site not too far from where I live, and I bid it for $150 a week. In fact, it's worth $150 a week, but I'll tell you this whole story, is that I found out that the company that is doing it was doing it for $80 a week. It's like a 3-acre site, tons of edging, tons of trimming, and you know what? I did not earn that business based on my quote, but you know what I found out is that the other company is a lowballing company and they do crappy work, as you would imagine, especially on the snow removal. So again, sometimes you don't always win, sometimes you'll learn. So even if you don't earn the business, take it as a learning experience. I think that's super vital and super important and something that kind of gets lost in the shuffle while we all are in the hustle, in the mode of trying to get our business going and earn more business in the spring. Sometimes you gotta learn for those lessons. You gotta look for those lessons so you can get better at bidding commercial work. It's not something you're just gonna dial in and figure out overnight because bidding commercial work can be a little bit more complex. Tip number 4 that I can relate to is that break down commercial complexes and commercial sites into bite-sized little pieces. Run the same numbers that we've talked about on other FAQ type videos, but then just scale it. If you're doing a 100 condo complex, imagine cutting 1 lawn and sometimes just times it by 100, guys. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly how it works, but let's say you have a huge commercial site and it looks to be about 2 acres and you just start freaking out. You're like, how long is the trim? How long is the edge? Imagine that it's 1 residential home, a 2nd residential home, and a 3rd residential home. There's 3 big chunks. You divide this up. That's a great way to start tackling some of your commercial work. If you have a 10-acre site and it's wide open, it's field, and there's a lot of mowing, well, we know that we're gonna get $45 to $60 an acre, and we just do some mental math. Now, the larger the site, sometimes you can do a volume break, of course, but don't fret when you look at commercial work. Deconstruct it, break it down into bite-sized little pieces. That's something that's really worked for me because what I can do is I can go on maps, I can use mapping software, I can start adding up all the square footage. I realize that it's 3 acres, I got my mental math, my acreage rates, and what I do is then piece that all together and then add about 10%, right? Because if I'm gonna show up to a site, I wanna freaking make some money, right? All right, this video is getting a little lengthy, past my 5 minutes, but I think this is really good for you guys. If it's helping you out, shoot some love, shoot a big thumbs up on the video. I really appreciate that. The last thing I would say in tips for a bidding commercial site is follow up. Follow up is everything. I actually did this in my productivity hacks training module. This was a huge tip, and that was the fortune is in the follow-up. If you can remember any one thing from this video, remember to talk to the decision maker, but the tip number 2 is the fortune's in the follow-up. You guys gotta realize that as small business owners, we are on everything. We're white on rice, right? We are all over every little aspect of our business, or at least we like to believe we are, right? Here's the deal. When folks are in an office, a retail setting, a property management company that might be out of state, they're not thinking every single day about the lawn and landscape. Your job is to put your business back on their mind, back on their radar, and to basically follow up with those folks. Even if it's every 3 or 4 days, maybe once a week until you earn it, that's something that you have to take the initiative on. What I like to do is I like to submit a proposal, I like to submit a bid, and then talk to a customer and say, hey, is it okay if I follow up with you in 72 hours if I don't hear from you? You don't want to go in sales mode. This is sales Brian right here. What you don't want to do is go call the customer every 3 days. Hey, what do you think? Hey, what do you think? Hey, what do you think? Be professional. The best way to do that for talking to corporate America would be to say, hey, if I don't hear back from you, can I follow up in 48 to 72 hours? Absolutely is what they're gonna say, and they're gonna thank you for it. So make sure you follow up with that decision maker. The last tip I'll give you guys, this might be tip number 5, somebody should be keeping count, right? Is that when do you bid commercial work? All the time, but there are better times to bid than others. Usually, this is a usual, right? It's in the spring between January, February, March, if you're trying to earn commercial work, and in the fall, let's talk about snow removal, maybe August, September, October. That's usually your 2 windows for lawn care landscaping and then snow removal. But here's another thing I would say. Keep your eyes peeled. If you look at a site and there's dandelions all over, you can tell they're not getting fertilized, the lawn's super tall, there's no fresh mulch, so on and so forth, that is an opportunity for you to find that decision maker and put in a bid or an estimate. You're not stealing any business from any other contractor. Obviously, if they're not gonna be up to snuff and they're not gonna do quality work and show up, in my opinion, that contractor is not interested in the job, and that's where I'm gonna take your business and I'm gonna go put that on my bottom line and make some more money. Sorry if you don't like that, that's just how it is, but it's business. If you're not interested in taking care of a commercial client, I'll take care of that commercial client and I'll earn that work. Guys, let's recap and wrap this one up. Find the decision maker. Make sure you bid high. Make sure if you bid and you don't get it, don't take it personal. Take it as a learning lesson. Make sure you guys are bidding sites with a little bit of margin in there so you actually enjoy the property. Don't forget to follow up with folks, and if you do all of that, make sure you also learn the best times to bid, which is spring and fall. Guys, these are my tips. Hate them or like them, I think they're pretty good. If you guys got some great tips, leave them down below, help each other out. This video is probably 8 or 9 minutes now, but hopefully you guys enjoy it. FAQ, if you guys enjoyed this, check out the other FAQ videos, the frequently asked questions. I'm trying to help you guys grow a more successful business. I'm at my commercial site. It's late night. I gotta get out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. We'll catch up with you guys. Bye-bye.